In the meantime, though, just for a moment, can we discuss a thing that did not happen? At least it did not happen like this.
Well, I know Willie Brown very well. In fact, I went down in a helicopter with him. We thought maybe this is the end. We were in a helicopter going to a certain location together, and there was an emergency landing. This was not a pleasant landing, and Willie was, he was a little concerned. So I know him pretty well.
This was not a pleasant landing. It's true, this whole thing does not land well in the end. Here's what's going on there. That was from Trump's last rambling, and I don't mean this in an unkind way, but often quite incoherent campaign press conference at the end of last week. And Trump, in that press conference, told a lot of porky pies. But the weirdest one he told was that he had been in an emergency landing near-death helicopter crash with a famous person, with Willie Brown, a famous, formerly very powerful politician from California. The reason this story is so weird is because Willie Brown is around and able to talk, and frankly, he loves to talk. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area when, among other things, Willie Brown was San Francisco mayor. He is a person who everybody used to call unavoidable for comment, meaning he will talk to any reporter about anything ever. He is a man who likes to talk about everything in the news and himself. And so when Trump made this surprise assertion about a death-defying, very dramatic helicopter emergency involving Willie Brown, people are like, never heard from Willie Brown about this. But also, we've never read about this in the news. And it's weird that that might have happened, but there would have been no news about it happening, right? These are two pretty high-profile guys, right? Donald Trump and Willie Brown were in a dramatic near-death helicopter crash, and Willie's never talked about it, and it was weird. But then, because he's unavoidable for comment, reporters went out in San Francisco and found Willie Brown and asked him about it. The local station KRON was first to find him, and it was predictably hilarious and fantastic.
Somehow I have the impression if you were ever in a helicopter and it was going down, he would know about it.
The world would have known about it.
So is he making these things up?
He'd have to be. I said he's creative. I mean, like real creative.
So
that's so far-fetched. I mean, it's unbelievable.
So you were not in a helicopter with him that almost crashed?
No.
That's your answer, right? Okay.
He's dreaming.
Okay.
Willie Brown says it was not him. He also said in that same interview, I don't think I'd want to ride on the same helicopter with him because there's too many people that have an agenda with reference to him, including the people who service helicopters. So I don't want to be in a helicopter with him. The New York Times and other news outlets suggested that maybe what happened here was that Trump confused Willie Brown, who you just saw, with Jerry Brown, the former governor of California. After all, Trump did take a helicopter ride with him once in 2018. Two problems with that. Number one, Trump was president at the time of that helicopter ride in California, so we all really definitely would have heard about it had he had a death-defying helicopter emergency landing as president. We all lived through that. None of us remember that because nothing like that was ever reported because that did not happen. Second problem with that story is that Jerry Brown and Willie Brown are not the same person. Really, truly, not at all the same. Trump then, in response, lashed out both online and apparently also in a very angry phone call to the New York Times, in which he said, wrong, he wasn't wrong. They were getting this all the wrong way around. He said it wasn't his helicopter ride in California with Governor Jerry Brown. It was a different helicopter ride, this one in New Jersey. And it definitely was with Willie Brown. He had a death-defying emergency landing helicopter crash. It was in New Jersey, and it involved Willie Brown, and I'm so mad. Two problems with that. Willie Brown says that that wasn't him either. like I said, unavoidable for comment. After speaking with local news, KRON, he then goes and does a CNN interview. I'm just going to give you the first two questions and responses from the CNN interview. One of my all-time favorite television interviews ever. Watch.
Have you ever been in a helicopter that made an emergency landing with Donald Trump?
No.
Have you ever been in a helicopter with Donald Trump?
No.
And that's it. He doesn't elaborate. No, not me. Okay, so was it this California thing? Then what happens next is Politico is first to report that there was, in fact, a helicopter ride that Donald Trump was on, and it was in New Jersey, and it did have mechanical problems. But that one was not with Willie Brown either. It was with a totally different man. A man who is also a black man and also an old guy, but really, again, honestly, two totally different people. Former state senator and city councilor Nate Holden telling Politico, quote, Willie is the short black guy living in San Francisco. I'm the tall black guy living in Los Angeles. Quote, I guess we all look alike. Now, by this point, Trump has not only said this very strange, apparently false thing at his press conference, but he is insisting on the truthfulness of what he said. He is posting about it online multiple times. He's kind of losing his mind. He's screaming at the New York Times. He's threatening to sue the New York Times. He's posted that he's got flight records. There are logs, maintenance records, witnesses to back up his account that he definitely was in a helicopter crash with Willie Brown.
So you were not in a helicopter with him that almost crashed?
No.
That's your answer, right? Okay.
He's dreaming.
Okay.
When he tells a New York Times reporter, Maggie Haberman, that he has flight records that will prove him right. Quote, when asked to produce the flight records, Trump responded mockingly, repeating the request in a sing-song voice. Ooh, let me see the flight records. I mean, who among us does not forget things? I have two dogs. I call them by each other's names all the time. They both think that each of them have both names. Okay, I'm sorry. I once confidently listed all the Balkan states as if they were all the Baltic states. Right? We all mess things up. What's different about Trump here, though, in what is otherwise an unimportant anecdote that had no consequences, is that he is now not only sticking to this, he is losing his mind over this in public. Repeated statements insisting on this thing that everyone is laughing in his face about. People who were there and know it didn't happen are laughing at him about it because it really didn't happen. And he is shouting at reporters about it. He is threatening to sue. He's threatening to produce records that will document this thing. And, you know, on the one hand, this is concerning because he's not just an average person. He is a presidential candidate. And if he is not just unable to remember a thing, but he is legitimately confused, he is unable to accept the truth of a thing that he has gotten wrong, he is unable to process information about what is true and false, even when it is a thing about his own life, I mean, that raises questions. You know, is he okay? We all admit that's a relevant question for a presidential candidate, right? Is he okay? On the other hand, though, because this is Trump, one real possibility here is that he is so committed now to this made-up story about Willie Brown being with him on a helicopter that this is going to become the new hurricane map with a Sharpie bulge on it, right? Showing that that hurricane was headed to Alabama. Because, look, remember the little bulge on the side of the storm path drawn on with a Sharpie? They had to put that on there because Trump said that storm was going to Alabama. So he said so we're sticking with it. The storm was not going to Alabama, but he had said that it was, and so the map had to be changed to reflect that. Will this now become an article of faith among Republicans that they all must salute and pledge fealty to the idea that Donald Trump once was in a helicopter emergency landing with Willie Brown? Well, Willie Brown laughs uproariously about it.
So in a debate situation, who would you put your money on?
I would think it will probably be unfair for her to debate Trump he is so inept at debating. The absence of knowledge is appalling. I'm looking forward to hearing the announcement because I'm going to Vegas and I'm going to put every nickel that I have on the results of that debate, and it'll all be on Kamala Harris.